There's no such thing as a small disaster. So when you call 1-800-WATER DAMAGE of North Dakota, we come prepared to restore your life back to normal. From burst pipes to unexpected mold discoveries or fire damage, when things couldn't be worse, we come to you with our best. With empathy, local expertise, and a truck full of seriously powerful equipment. 1-800-WATER DAMAGE of North Dakota. Restoring what matters most. 701-670-2022.
Good morning, Meteorologist Lisa Green here, and welcome to this Valley News Now weather update brought to you by 1-800-WATER DAMAGE of North Dakota. And we are looking at, some nice weather again today as far as the temperatures are concerned. We've got some sunshine out there too, so it's really been pleasant. We've been running very mild for this time of year. Yesterday was super toasty, and today, for January standards, of course, and then today, not as warm, but still on the mild side. So a lot of questions about how long this is going to continue, and how's the rest of winter shaping up for us. And we did just get an update from the Climate Prediction Center on the current La Niña that we are in. If you remember, we've talked about this quite a bit, how La Niña influences our weather. So we're going to get into details on that now, as we are going to talk about where we stand, how the outlook is looking for us, and just a little refresher course here too on what La Niña is. And then once we talk about that, we'll take a look at the outlook for winter, how things are looking still, and then we'll get into the forecast for today and the snow that we're looking out for this weekend. So let's first get you the newest information here on what we can expect when it comes to La Niña. So again, just want to bring that refresher to you here. I'm going to take the camera shot and point some stuff out to you here as we go through the explanation. So again, La Niña, if you've watched before, we talk about this, we show this graphic. You can see trade winds blowing from east to west. So they blow a little differently than our westerlies. Big surprise, they're called westerlies. Our winds here in the mid-latitudes are generally out of that direction. The overall flow generally out of that direction. But down closer to the equator, we've got the easterlies coming in, and that's also known as the trade winds. So just a reminder here, La Niña, El Nino, it's all part of one kind of oscillation, circulation that is more global. We have a lot of those that are followed, especially by climatologists, because it's larger scale. It lasts over months rather than days and weeks, which is more a meteorological timeline. And so these can influence our weather, what we expect to see in the coming days and weeks. So we often take a look at this in the meteorological world because of that. So that's why we're showing this to you while we're talking about it, because it does influence our weather. So as I was saying, we are seeing those trade winds blowing from east to west. There are some years that and they tend to push warmer water at the surface from east to west. And there are some years where they're not as strong, so that warmer water stays more in the eastern Pacific. That would be classified as an El Nino. And then there are some years where those winds are particularly strong. And so not only are they pushing more of that warmer water west, but that's allowing the colder water beneath to rise to the surface. And when you've got colder surface temperatures on the ocean, that has impacts on the weather above it. And this example we used not too long ago about hurricanes. You hear about hurricanes moving through the Atlantic, and when they pass over those warmer waters, that provides them the energy to strengthen or develop. And so as you would expect, cooler waters have a dampening effect, essentially, on hurricane and tropical storm growth. So we are, looking at years and months when we have cooler water in the eastern Pacific that suppresses thunderstorm development, while out to the west we get more thunderstorms in western parts of the Pacific. And when those develop, that can influence the air mass around it and influence the jet stream. That isn't just over one area. Jet streams flow across the globe, and some of them impact us here in the U.S. and in the Red River Valley. So again, when we see that develop, we typically see a certain type of pattern develop with our jet stream. So this is that typical La Niña wintertime weather pattern. So we've got our polar jet that is generally going to be more northwesterly. We get this ridge out to the west, and then we get this northwesterly flow. And you've heard us talk about this already this winter, this northwesterly flow we've been under. And that tends to bring us colder air. But also, we've been hearing about the atmospheric rivers that have been hitting the western part of the country and causing all of that devastating flooding going on along the Pacific coast. Some of that moisture crosses over the Rockies and makes it to us as well. And it's not as strong of a signal, but we oftentimes will see perhaps more wetter than average winter times during the La Niña phase of ENSO. El Nino Southern Oscillation is what ENSO stands for. So again, looking out for the potential for our winter to be colder than average. Well, definitely not seeing that right now. It's been very mild. So that's an example of how it doesn't always follow that pattern. It's just a general tendency over time that we've studied seasons here. And in addition to that, there can be variations throughout the season within that colder than average range. So yes, we may be mild now, but we may get really cold later into the season, and that could, on average, outweigh the warm-up. And so we would end the season colder than average. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's what we're looking toward, to see if we're going to be seeing that at any time soon. So let's talk about the La Niña update. So this just came out from the Climate Prediction Center from NOAA. And a reminder here on this graph, this is probabilities, so it's not a prediction, it's probabilities. And anywhere where you see the graph in blue, that's where we're looking at more likely La Niña conditions, the percent chance here on the Y, the left side of the scale there. And then here the season. And I'm going to make this a little larger for us here. And you can see that we've got some letters here, DJF, that means December, January, February. And then the next bundle, JFM, January, February, March. So the Climate Prediction Center, climatology in general, when they are labeling a season, it's for a 3-month period. So each one of these is a so-called season. Not in the way we often think of seasons, but in this way, this is how they're grouped. So for La Niña, we're looking at blue, the likelihood for La Niña. A neutral would be gray, and then the likelihood for El Nino is in red. So the December, January, February season, you can see equal chances of La Niña and El Nino. And we do have La Niña persisting. I'll show you that in just a moment. But as we take a look at the next season, January, February, March, La Niña chances go down and neutral chances go up. We're looking at a 75% chance of neutral conditions developing somewhere in the next few months, this month, February, and March. And the sooner that happens, the sooner the influence of La Niña goes away. So the sooner that we would potentially, it doesn't again always happen this way, but see that cooling influence of a La Niña also go away. Of course, that opens us up to more variability potentially, or other climate circulations, global circulations entering the chat, so to speak, and having some influence on us too. But so the general thing here that we're noticing is that the chances of seeing La Niña persisting are going to be lower. And that continues through the spring months, and then heading into this AMJ, April, May, June. We're starting to see El Nino potential starting to show up. And then by the time we get into heading into the end of summer and heading into the fall months, the chances for an El Nino start to go up. June, July, August, greater chances for El Nino developing, and then those chances continue to go up while the chances for neutral and La Niña go down. So what this is showing me is that our chances here of La Niña drop. We see that eventually transition to neutral conditions, and then perhaps by the end of the year, we're back into an El Nino phase, which can have different impacts on our weather. And it's more noted and more impactful during the winter months for us here in the Red River Valley. And so for El Nino years, we tend to be milder than average. So we'll see if this comes to a pass for next winter season, but this is the outlook right now. Okay, so let's talk about where we stand right now. We are still in a La Niña. That persists. This is a graph of where we've been, where we are, and then each of these lines is a model output for what it is predicting for us here. So there are various climate models that are taking all of those numbers, those sea surface temperatures in the Pacific, taking what we know as meteorologists, how the atmosphere behaves with this kind of input, and trying to make a prediction. That's what our atmospheric and climatological models do. And so we're looking at this first line in the graph through November, that we've been in a half degree Celsius below average in a specific part of the Pacific. And that's one that is often watched for El Nino and La Nina conditions. And the threshold for La Nina is at that half range. I'm going to pull this up full screen. Maybe we can see it a little easier. So we're looking at, again, there's the half degree below average, which is that 0 line, degrees Celsius. So we've been running a little bit below that. And as we go through the seasons ahead, these colored lines. Those are our model predictions, our model output. And you can see all of them, and they're varying degrees of it, but all of them are depicting a scenario where we're going up, closer to average through these seasons. And again, AMJ, April, May, June, is a season where we're kind of seeing some models above neutral and below neutral, so kind of right in that heart of neutral, and then kind of leveling off as we head toward the end of the summer months here. So, but some of them are still rising at that point. So that's where that uncertainty gets greater. Just like in our weather models, the farther out you go, the less certain we're looking at. So that's the view of what we're seeing here right now. We're still in a La Nina, and still being in a La Nina, we are seeing colder than average temperatures being more likely for us. And so let's take a look at what the Climate Prediction Center's outlooks are still showing for us here. Okay, so this is the precip outlook for January. We're looking at both precip and at the potential for conditions that are going to be both precip-wise and temperature-wise as well. I'm seeing a little bit of a delay here in my video. I'm hoping that you're not seeing that on your end because it is a little bit jarring. I'm going to just take a look and see if we've got any comments on that on our Facebook post. Not seeing anything, so hopefully it's just on my end. Otherwise, we'll just take this full screen so it's not so jarring here. But just a little bit of buffering or a delay happening. So we're looking at January, and right now we're trending near average. Of course, we're getting into the second week of January now, and so this is a little bit old, but still it kind of gives us an idea of what we can expect to see with near average precipitation on the whole as a month. And then as far as the temperature outlook, we've been in that outlook for below average temperatures. The potential is greater to have the overall average temperature for this month be below average, if that makes sense. So looking at, this first part of the month has been very, very mild, and then perhaps toward the end of the month, and it is looking that way in our longer range models, seeing a drop in our temperatures. And then the 3-month outlook, this is for January, February, and March. You can see we're above average, leaning above average. Not a strong signal for it, but generally leaning above average for precip. And then for a 3-month outlook for January, February, and March, the latest is leaning below average. So that's what our outlooks currently are. As we get more in, we'll pass that along. But in general, if you're still in a La Nina, again, its influence is stronger. And so that means, even though it is a weak La Nina this time around, that means that it's going to more likely influence us and trend us toward the colder side of average. But if we see ourselves out of that, if La Nina goes away, trends to neutral, then its influence will be less, and maybe we'll see those below average temperatures be less likely. Doesn't mean it won't happen, but the likelihood is less. So that's something we're looking out for as we continue on through the winter months. Okay, let's talk about what we've got going on right now. We are, again, very mild out there. We've got some sunshine shining here in Fargo, some high thin clouds as well. This is our view in West Fargo at the Red River Valley Fairgrounds. Fargo's at 27, 22 in Grand Forks. We're at 18 for our wind chill in Fargo, 11 in Grand Forks. Some places are pretty mild. Bemidji checking in at 35 degrees right now. Fergus Falls is at 32. I want to check out our visibility because this is something that has been an issue for us in the east all morning. In Park Rapids, our visibility is still at a quarter mile. There's still some fog over in that area. So if you're traveling in this direction, just keep in mind it is going to be a little murkier still. And in addition to that, it might be a little more slick with that fog depositing on our surfaces, our colder surfaces. And checking out your radar and satellite, not a lot to show at this point. The valley is seeing some clearing or a few clouds in the south and east. So we're watching out for that to be a little bit more gray in the south and east here through much of the day today. Our temperatures, here we go. We're looking at some updates coming in now that we're heading to the top of the hour. 10:56 right now, so not all of them have come in, but we're at 28 degrees in Fargo again, 22 in Grand Forks. It's a cooler 12 in Langdon, and again, warmer to the east, south, and east here this afternoon. And I do want to take a look at our max temperatures yesterday because it was so warm. We got to 38 in Fargo. We got to the 40s in a lot of spots, 42 in Jamestown, 41 in Carrington. Detroit Lake saw 40. The Wheaton area got to 43 degrees, very warm. We won't quite get there today, and that's all thanks to the front that moved through, and now we've got some cooler flow coming in from the northwest or north today, and so that's going to influence our weather in the form of some temperatures that just kind of hold steady with that cooler air taking over. You can see that north wind at 13 miles per hour now in Fargo. Current temperature of 28. And, we may rise a little bit more into midday. The wind kicks in more, and that may send our temperatures down a couple of degrees before sunset. When we normally would see our warmest temperatures, in that 3 to 4 o'clock hour, we may be already starting our slide at that point in time. But regardless, even being in the 20s is above average for this time of year. Our average high on today's date is 18. So let's take a look at our hour-by-hour planner. We're watching, again, more clouds to the south and east, more sunshine to the north. And as we continue on through the rest of the day, you can see some clouds lifting in. But overall, and hopefully they're just thin clouds that we see through the rest of the day because we'd still get more of that sunlight through. But overall, it's more the wind that's going to be a bigger factor for us today, seeing wind gusting in that 20 plus to 30 mile per hour range. And again, it's more of a northerly wind. This carries on into this evening. And then as we move overnight tonight, that wind starts to ease up. I can't rule out a little bit of fog yet again developing here, but notice our temperatures. We're really looking at some numbers into some single digits to some teens heading into the overnight hours for tonight. So really cooling down in the wake of this latest round. And then we're gearing up for the next round coming our way, heading into Friday evening and into Saturday as well. So let's take a look at our weekend planner. We've got some chances for snow. It's not everybody that sees it, but the possibility is there that we could have some snow showers into Saturday, with temperatures that are going to be cooler than where we've been. We'll be more into the teens for highs. Sunday we make a nice recovery here, looking at some 20s to even some 30s for your highs coming up for Sunday. If you're traveling this weekend, Saturday might be a day where you're impacted a bit by some snow and a little bit of wind. So let's take a look at our hour-by-hour planner here for Friday. Most of the day Friday looks pretty good. What's happening is we've got a low passing by to the north, and that's going to introduce some snow showers with it. This is 10 o'clock. You can see Northern Valley especially, more likely to see it. And then heading into Saturday morning, you can see more of this working its way south. And as that low starts to move eastward, it's kind of also being influenced and kind of linking up with a Colorado low that is largely missing us from the Saturday time frame. It's going to be more south and east, and so it'll affect more places into the Great Lakes. But still, this might, cause that snow to linger a little bit longer heading into Saturday. You can see Saturday evening still seeing a little bit of that snow, but eventually that does move on. And again, it's not heavy, but maybe just enough to cause some areas where we've got some slick spots with snow on the roads, maybe an inch or two of snow in some areas. And then there will be a little bit of a breeze with that, as you see in our 3-day planner here. So that combo, gusts maybe up to about 30 miles per hour. That combo, it could lead to, some light blowing and drifting snow, which might reduce your visibility somewhat, but also, blowing across roadways could lead to more icy patches or slick spots, especially with our temperatures being a lot cooler on Saturday. That's more likely to happen at 17 for your forecast high. Next couple of days, though, staying above average. And then Sunday, we may see some spotty lingering snow showers in the north, and then it's right back into some mild temperatures as we work our way into next week. And next week, a little more active here as we head into the week. Thursday and into Friday, I'm watching out for what could be a clipper type system moving through that could stir up some wind. And with that, some colder air potentially coming in. We haven't seen, there is a signal for it, that potential for some colder temperatures heading into next weekend. And right now we're forecasting some teens and maybe around 20 on Saturday and slightly cooler on Sunday, but it is possible we could be colder than that. So we're going to keep our eyes on that potential cool down, and that could be part of a much colder second half of the month that I was kind of alluding to a little bit earlier here. So that's what we're looking out for here in the forecast in the coming days and in the coming months as we took a look at our outlooks. Again, La Niña persists, but it is weak, and it is showing signs that it will transition to more neutral conditions coming up as we head into late winter months here, coming up here into February and into March as well. So again, beautiful day today. We'll pull up our sky cam again so you can see that. Just nice and bright, sunny, but you can also see that there are some high clouds, so there may be some filtered sunshine going on for you, and also areas where we're watching for some potential fog still lingering in places like the Park Rapids area, like the Wadena area, where we've had fog pretty much all morning, so it's still a little bit murky there. So easy does it in those areas, but otherwise enjoy the sunshine we have, and still mild temperatures for a little while longer here in the forecast before we may see that cool down for the second half of the month. So hope you have a great Thursday, and this has been your weather update brought to you by 1-800-WATER-DAMAGE of North Dakota.
There's no such thing as a small disaster. So when you call 1-800-WATER-DAMAGE of North Dakota, we come prepared to restore your life back to normal. From burst pipes to unexpected mold discoveries or fire damage, when things couldn't be worse, we come to you with our best. With empathy, local expertise, and a truck full of seriously powerful equipment. 1-800-WATER-DAMAGE of North Dakota. Restoring what matters most. 701-670-2022.